Hello, Rutgers. Daily Targum head news editor Alex Kenney here with a special broadcast on the 2024 general elections. As Election Day approaches, that's going to be Tuesday, November 5th, some of us having already voted during the early voting session, many of us are preoccupied with the presidential race. And while that's certainly important, recent news has New Jersey voters revisiting the ballot. Notably, former Democratic Senator Bob Menendez resigned from a seat he held for 18 years following bribery charges. So let's take a look at the race to fill the former senator's seat. In order of the candidates' appearance on the ballot, we start off with Cape Resorts hotel owner and Republican Curtis Bashaw from Cape May, New Jersey. Competing against him, hailing from the 3rd Congressional District, that's going to be most of Burlington County and some surrounding towns, the Democratic Representative Andy Kim. The two candidates recently sat down with the Daily Targum to talk about their policies as well as the race. And Kim and Bashaw here have some key disagreements in areas that affect Rutgers students. For example, when it comes to the Middle East, Bashaw says that Israel has a right to defend itself against Hamas and Hezbollah, whereas Kim says that arms shipments to Israel do not help aid the conflict and that aid to Gaza should increase. When it comes to free speech, Kim, who formerly protested the Iraq War, says that protesting is important, but should be done respectfully. Bashaw is in agreement here, saying that community comfort is paramount. When it comes to university policy, however, Kim expressed some concerns around it, whereas Bashaw indicated support for it. Additionally, on election integrity, a big issue in this year's political climate, the two candidates largely agree. Bashaw says that he agrees with the results of the last presidential election, and Kim, who was actually in Washington, D.C. at the time, drew praise for an image of him cleaning up after the January 6th insurrection 3 years ago. Kim, however, says he is concerned for the state of democracy in the U.S. Moving on, the two candidates also represent potentially historic wins. Kim would be the first Korean American senator and one half of the 119th Congress's only all-minority Senate delegation, whereas Bashaw would be the first openly LGBTQ+ Republican senator. The Rutgers students also have a choice among 4 other third-party candidates. Once again, in the order that they appear on the ballot, Green Party candidate Christina Khalil calls for the cancellation of student loans as well as free of cost undergraduate and graduate education. When it comes to international affairs, she also backs Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein's views. This includes a ceasefire in Israel and Palestine, the return of hostages and prisoners of war, humanitarian aid to the region, and a termination of military aid to Israel until it satisfies human rights law. Moving on to the Libertarian Party, we have Kenneth Kaplan, who maintains that government intervention should be kept low. And for Kaplan, this includes the abolition of the income tax, as well as the protection of the Second Amendment. Kaplan further calls for the state to repeal legislation that reaffirms the Democratic and Republican parties as the state's 2 official parties in order to promote fairness for third-party candidates. When it comes to foreign affairs, Kaplan says that the U.S. should divest from foreign aid entirely. Looking to the Vote Better party, we have Patricia Mooniam, who supports the Second Amendment, as well as the expansion of healthcare access. When it comes to election issues, she says that She supports stricter surveillance on mail-in ballots, as well as ID requirements in order to vote. Next up from the Socialist Workers' Party is Joanne Kuniansky, who says that Israel has a right to defend itself and exist. And furthermore, when it comes to election issues, Kuniansky says that barriers on the working class's ability to vote should be lifted. If Khalil Muniam or Kuniansky wins, there's another potentially historic win, as they would be New Jersey's first woman senator. And lastly, on the issue of abortion, a key issue on this year's ballot in many states, all 6 candidates are pro-choice. Rutgers students also have a decision to make, not only in the Senate, but also in the House. The House also sees a long list of candidates not filling a vacant seat, but rather challenging 31-year incumbent Democratic Representative Frank Pallone Jr. Polling locations and further voting information can be found at state and county websites, as well as an October 6th article from the Daily Targum titled Looking to 2024 General Election, Deadlines, Resources for Student Voting. This has been head news editor of the Daily Targum, Alex Kenney, with your special broadcast. Thank you for watching.